Hey, and thanks for watching. In this video, I'll be sharing my ground lease valuation model. Just a quick walkthrough of the 7 sections and the various inputs of the model. Now, this model can either be standalone or it can be inserted into your own property level model. And it's really meant to be used to either value an existing or new ground lease, to possibly assess the returns of a potential ground lease investment. It could also be used by the leasehold owner to understand the value of the land that's under the leasehold. Maybe it could be used by a lender who's looking at either lending on the fee or the leasehold to understand the value of the land or how the economics of the land play into the broader investment. So it has a couple uses. Now, the model itself is all on one tab, and that makes it easy to insert into your own model if you want to use it. Has 7 different sections with various inputs across the sections. So I'll just walk you through those quickly now. Now, I've also created a fairly comprehensive written guide to the inputs and sections. I'll include a link in the description of the video for accessing those instructions. But with that said, let's get started with the first section, property description. Now, the very first input you'll make is whether to choose square feet or square meters. If you toggle to square meters, it will use hectares instead of acres. Let's go ahead, though, and leave this as square feet. The next input then is property name, address, land size, and this is important. This is the land that is being leased as part of this ground lease structure. It calculates then automatically for you the acres or hectares based on the square feet or square meters that you enter in the land size input. We also have the leasehold net rentable area. And when we say leasehold, we're talking about the improvements on the land. And those improvements generally are not owned by the owner of the land. That's why there's a ground lease. And this input's important because we use it to derive a reversion value for the land. Right, because at the end of the ground lease, the land and any improvements on the land revert back to the landowner. And so these improvements, this leasehold net rentable area, will become the property of the landowner at the end of the ground lease and therefore play into the reversion value. So we'll use that also to understand the value of the leasehold. That input is used. Next, we have investment timing, and this is timing both for the analysis as well as the ground lease itself. We have the ground lease start date, month and year of when the ground lease commences. We also have month and year of the next ground lease payment. And this is important because you'll often be analyzing ground leases that are existing. And so we want to understand both what is the full term of the ground lease as well as the remaining term. And so that is our next input. What's the term or the length of the ground lease? So for instance, we could say a 50-year ground lease, and based on a ground lease start date of January 2015 and the next ground lease payment January 2021, and an analysis start date, and in this case by default it's just set to be the month and year of the next ground lease payment, but that could be brought forward if you need. We have a remaining ground lease of 44 years, or roughly 528 months. Now, the final input is an optional input, and you'll see these in orange in all of our models and adventures in CRE. This optional input is your analysis end date, and in most cases, the analysis end date should just be the date at which the ground lease matures, and that's just because we're doing a discounted cash flow and a present value calculation for the ground lease. And so it's best just to do it through the end or the full term of the ground lease. But there may be cases where you want to only analyze, say, a 10-year period. And that's why this is an optional input. So that's the investment timing section. Next, we have the ground lease term section. And here's really where we're modeling the ground lease payment schedule. So it drops in automatically from above, just some basic timing terms. The first input, though, is the initial payment amount. And you can choose for this payment amount either to be payments made annually, and that's this payment frequency here, or monthly. And if you choose monthly, you'll need to make sure that this amount here is a monthly payment. And this is the very first payment that was made on the ground lease. So not what is due in the next payment, but what the first payment on January 2015 was. Now there's a dummy value in here. You'll need to change that for your circumstances. But say, let's go to annual, and let's imagine that the payment is $200,000. All right, so these are annual ground lease payments. The very first payment was $200,000. Now, likely those payments change. The payment schedule has some increases over time, and we have 4 increase methods. The first is none, so no increases. So $200,000 flat through, what do we say, 50 years. The next option is a percentage increase at some frequency. So because these are annual payments, we could have, and this is our increase frequency, so every certain number of years. So we could say every 10 years, there's going to be a percentage increase, and let's say it's a 15% increase, and we have to make these percentage like that, 15% increase every 10 years. And then you can see that out to the right. So you're going to see the schedule, the ground lease payment schedule. It will tell you when your next payment is. All right, so these were payments already made. The next payment being here, January 2021. This is the 7th payment. And then there's going to be the first increase in year 11, and that's a 15% increase, or from $200,000 to $230,000. And then you'll see your next payment after that in year 21, not 21 of the analysis, but year 21 of the lease and so forth. So that's the increase. And then you can see here I've added some text that instructs you about what your assumptions are doing. So it says 15% increase every 10 years. We could change this to 1 every 5 years. We could have 1 at 0.1, 10% increase every 5 years. You could have annual increases, so 2% increase every year, etc. So that's the percent increase. The next option is an amount increase. So again, the frequency is the same. So let's say every 5 years we're going to have a $25,000 increase, and then here it says $125,000 increase every 5 years, and then out to the right you'll see that, right? Year 6 of the analysis, which is the most recent payment that was already made, it increased from 200 to 225. The first payment will be 225, and then the next increase will come year 11, where it goes to 250. So that's the amount increase. And then finally we have custom. And so let's say you have a payment schedule that is irregular, or at least doesn't follow any of those parameters. You can custom model the payment schedule over, in this case, 50 years, over up to 100 years. And you would just change these values. Now, keep in mind that if you toggle to custom and then you start changing these values out here to the right, that will remove the pre-made formulas that are in those cells. And therefore, you will not be able to revert back to any of the other increase methods. And so make sure that if you do choose custom and you make those changes, that's what you want to do. So I'm just going to come back to percent increase. Let's do 10% every 5 years. So there is our ground lease terms. Next, we move to valuation, fee, and leasehold. And what we're really doing here is we're valuing the reversion value of the ground lease. We'll value the ground lease present value, and then the leasehold valuation. And our inputs are pretty simple. So the first, what we want to do is value on a direct cap basis the property before taking into account the ground lease. So let's imagine that, again, this office building idea, we just buy an office building. There's no ground lease. We own the land and we own the improvements. And we ask, what is the net operating income in place currently, assuming stabilized net operating income of that investment? And in this case, we say, right, $2 million. Then we ask, what is the market cap rate for that sort of investment? In this case, we'll just say 7%. And that gets us to a current property value of $28.5 million. Then we're going to ask, let's imagine that we're now at the end of the ground lease period. Or let's imagine that this building is, it's reached the end of its lease, and there's going to be some releasing costs. We'll call it retenanting costs because it's not just TIs and LCs, leasing commissions. It may also include devising walls, right? Altering the building to be at market. It may include scraping the building. Let's say that the tenant is a special use, or even let's use Target for instance, or superstores like that, department stores. Those buildings are often specially built for that user, and there will either be significant changes that need to be made to the building, or the building torn down altogether and be rebuilt. That's our retenanting costs, and so there's some costs involved with that, and that input should be nominal value, meaning in today's dollars. So even though we're thinking about the future at the end of the ground lease, how much are we going to have to spend in order to retenant the building? Think about it in today's dollars. So we do some calculation here, and in this case, I just simply said I'm going to take the current property value, and I'm going to spend 50% of that to retenant the building, which may or may not be conservative. That gets us to a net reversion value when we adjust out the retenanting costs on a nominal basis before growth. And then we say, what would this building grow? How much would it grow, its value grow over time? And just be conservative, I'm going to say 1%. It probably would grow more than that, but there's the obsolescence of the building, perhaps obsolescence of the location, and so I'm just going to say 1%. What that means, what that does is it takes the net reversion value in today's dollars and grows that by 1% per year over, in this case, 50 years. It's actually not. It's 44 years because it's however much time is remaining, right? And it gets us a reversion value at the end of that, I guess now 44 years remaining on our lease, of $22 million. And think about this, right? If you're the ground lease owner, you are going to get your lease payments from today through the end of the ground lease. And then at the end of the ground lease, you're going to receive back the land plus any improvements on the land. And so what we're saying is, what we're getting back as the ground lease, the landowner at the end of this ground lease, is worth $22 million in the future. We then, and so that's our ground lease reversion value. We then can calculate our ground lease present value, all right? We have some discount rate. And as you think about discount rate, what you're really asking yourself is, what is this investment worth? So my alternatives are, I could go invest in a 10-year U.S. Treasury, and today that yields maybe 1%. I mean, I guess we're March 21st, 2020. The world's kind of in disarray right now, but roughly a 10-year Treasury is yielding 1% to maturity. But that's only a 10-year investment. What's a 30-year Treasury yielding? Well, that's yielding 1.5 roughly. And so I could do a 30-year. Now there's not a 50-year Treasury. There are other governments that issue 50 and 100-year bonds. They've had various varying levels of success, but you could probably find a 50-year bond to use as your baseline, your risk-free rate. But on top of that, you then have to layer on the risks inherent with this investment. So what are our risks? Well, there's some default risk. It's nominal because we're the land, so unless we're a subordinated ground lease to the leasehold mortgage, we're likely going to be right above the property tax in terms of our position in the case of a default. So we're in a pretty healthy position, but there's still some credit risk here. There's some real estate risk. There's illiquidity, right? This isn't a liquid asset, so there's some liquidity risk here. So we have to add on a risk premium. Here, I just simply put 5%. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That probably is about 300 basis points of risk premium on top of what might be kind of a 2% risk-free rate. Either way, your discount rate for a ground lease, unless it's subordinated, is going to be less than your discount rate of a general real estate deal. And so 5% is probably on the high end in this environment today. But just for these purposes, I'm going to say 5%. And then what that does is it takes the sum of our lease payments and the reversion value at the end of the ground lease and discounts all of those back to today using this discount rate, and we get a value for the land for this ground lease of roughly $8 million. Now, if you're interested, the cap rate, so if we take the ground lease, the annual ground lease payment, and divide that by the next ground lease payment and divide that by the present value, that gets us a cap rate of roughly 2.76. And you go, wow, that's really low. But if you think about how secure a ground lease is, in most cases, that's kind of what you'd expect. And so then we have our leasehold valuation. And why does this matter? Well, in the industry, what you often will find is people valuing the leasehold, meaning the improvements, by simply running a typical direct cap and then adding the ground lease payments as an operating expense, such that you have a net operating income adjusted down by the amount of the ground lease payment, and then they cap that adjusted NOI. That's the equivalent of capping, say in this case, this $220,000 NOI by a market cap rate, 7%. Where here, using our present value, what do we see? This is really worth something closer to a 3 cap. And because they do that, those groups who use that methodology overvalue the leasehold and undervalue the value of the land or the ground lease. And so I like this methodology because I think it's more true to finance than the way that you'll often see in the industry. Nonetheless, you'll see that, and so I think it's important to understand that. Then the next two sections are calculating returns. So if you were looking at investing in a ground lease, what might the returns look like? So under the ground lease returns unlevered, your only input is investment cost. What would it cost to acquire this ground lease today? And out will spit your unlevered IRR, unlevered equity multiple over 50 years. That's why it's so high. Your net profit over that period, your average rate of return, which is going to be skewed by time value of money and skewed by that reversion value at the end. And then your average free and clear return, which is more of a cash flow metric, but it's higher because you have those escalations. So here off to the right, you can see year one, it's only 2.76, but then that grows over time as you have escalations in your ground lease payments. It's unlevered. And then we get into levered, and really what we're doing is just adding in debt. Now, to keep this simple, I've assumed interest-only debt. At some point, I'll adjust the model to allow for either partial IO or fully amortizing loans, maybe even a loan that pays off at some point and then a refinance. But for now, I'm just going to keep this simple. You've got an LTV, so on the value of your land, you set some LTV that gives you the loan amount. Then you enter an interest rate for that interest only payment. You can say whether that payment is monthly or annual, and it tells you here that what the payment is on that frequency. We see here the loan payoff month, and then out will come the returns from layering in that debt. Some levered IRR, levered equity multiple, some net profit, average rate of return, and then our average cash on cash, which again, earlier in the hold is going to be quite a bit less. And then later in the hold, as our lease payments increase, but our debt service stays the same, our cash on cash return grows such that we get an average there. So this is a walkthrough of my ground lease valuation model. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm in version 1.0 right now. I'm going to be, as with all of our models, updating this as time goes on. And so if you have any suggestions, things you'd like to see, or if you notice an error, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for your time today.